Hi everybody, I've been asked to do a walk round of my 1988 MR2. I started this project about 2 years ago and I found this in a barn and I bought it for £50 and it took me about 2 years to turn it into this. It's not entirely complete. I'm still missing a few pieces, like this piece, because they're ridiculously expensive because they break all the time. And a couple of other bits, like you can see I've got no glove box there, which is helpful. But I've done quite a few upgrades. So you can see I've got the wide, this is from Paul Woods. This is the wide arch kit. So the original arch finish is about there, so it adds all that extra. Means I can squeeze 9J wheels into there. I can probably bring it out to about 10.5J, but they don't make 16s in that size. I also did something, I blended it in to the factory arch. Unfortunately I've got quite a lot of stone chip now, so I'm going to respray this. But this is the factory piece, and I just fiberglassed the factory piece into this and filled it back, and it looks like it's part of the factory side skirt. Well, I think it does. That's the front one. The front one is spot on, look, it's flush as, which is nice. The colour is Ford Grabber Blue, which I really wanted the Ford Nitrous Blue from the new Focus, but it's a 3-stage paint and it was very expensive. Another little upgrade I've done is install central locking, and I'll show you why. That's my clocks, you might know, a little giveaway there. And that's my secondary ECU, which is the car ECU, which I've rammed in the front there. So pop the engine lid, which is obviously here because it's an MR2, it's behind you. So this is a Honda Civic Type R EP3 engine and gearbox. It's using the innovative shifter for a Mark III MR2. A Mark III MR2 has exactly the same gearbox as a Mark I MR2 in terms of shape. It has different gears and everything in it. So these are Mark III gear cables, and it's a Mark III shifter in there, which is why it's so high compared to a normal one. But you could, using this, use a Mark 1 or Mark 2 shifter and it would just bolt straight in. You wouldn't need to do the modifications like I have. I didn't realise until after the fact. Put that in there. To get this to fit, the exhaust has been cut slightly and turned back, just to get it in there, otherwise it hit the bulkhead. It goes down into a 3-inch dump. I am going to turbo this at some point, hopefully this year, but we'll see. Header tank, water inlets and outlets are very simple. This was actually just standard Mark I hoses. I just span a couple of them around and use them in a different way, and it literally just, it's like one joiner and everything else just connected with a lot of trimming. You need a fuel regulator and just standard fuel system. The standard fuel pump is not good enough. You're going to need to upgrade it if you want to do that. I just stuck a Walbro 255 in there, and you run it at 60 psi, which is as per the factory. Other things I've done a mil-spec harness by myself. I still need to clear a bit up this up here. I wired this wrong and ended up not leaving enough gap between these, so I had to peel it back. But everything goes to a Delphi connector there. Check out my terrible welds. And another connector there, but that is going to be another Delphi at some point. I just need to buy another one. Oh, it's using, move that out of the way. It's using Hux Racing from America mounts all everywhere. The only one I haven't connected, we've got the back one there. I haven't connected the front one up just because it doesn't quite fit, so I just need to make an adjustment to it. But it works perfectly fine without it. In terms of the ECU and everything, I'll pop with the boot. The ECU is mounted in the back as per all MR2s. currently doing some work to it right now, but it's a Doctronic, which is similar to a Honda, but instead of being made in America, it's made in Germany. And basically, yeah, everything comes through either here or the Delphi connector there. I still need to tidy the wiring up, but as you can see, I'm currently still doing stuff to it. I've also made this box here, which I'll cut to in a second, which takes power, VTEC and earth, and a couple of other things as well. Brings this out, which goes into the floor, and into the floor on this side, which connects under there to the outer two exhaust pipes via a motor. And this is a Golf Type R exhaust, so it has 2 active exhaust ports. Okay, this is a quick lowdown of the valve system. So you've got your 2 valves. This one has got all its things. This one is missing some, so I need to get another one. But this is good because I got to cut it open first to find out what was inside. There is a big chip here that has either the LIN bus or the PWM controls. I have no idea which it was because I could not Google anything on the pins or anything on the chips to get any relevant information. So they were a mystery, unlike the BMW ones, which you can find out a lot about them. And also Custer, the manufacturer, they won't give out any details about like anything inside here. They won't tell you how to interact with it at all. It's literally just guesswork. So yeah, they've got these little springs on them that isolate it from the exhaust, and they also provide some tension on them as well. So you can over tighten it and it'll seal it closed, and then also over open it and it stops it from chattering around. So good little idea. This is my Arduino. It's not a real Arduino, it's like a Chinese copy, but it'll do. So all I've got is a relay in there, but that's for the VTEC input because it's a positive 12 volts input, and obviously that doesn't work with an Arduino because they're 5 volts only. And this is a twin relay. So what I've done is in here there's 2 wires, and it just goes to either side of the motor. So you apply positive 12 volts in one direction and it spins one way, and positive 12 volts in the other direction it spins the other way, just like a window winder motor. So that goes up to there, and that one goes up to there, and basically they just come together in the loom, which goes across the top of the boot to this plug, which then is basically joining the 2 together and bringing it into here. This wire is going to E18 on the ECU, and that's a grounded output. So this connects directly to that blue pin right there, which is pin number 13 or something, I can't remember. And basically when this is grounded, it'll engage the circuit. So it'll think it's active and it'll open the valves. And this is going to be connected to my Doctronic ECU, but it could be done to a Honda or any other ECU, I guess. And all I'm doing is, because I've not got a shift light and it operates in exactly the same way, I'm just going to use my shift light output to set a rev range. So if I hit 5,000 revs, the shift light will come on, but it won't, it'll just ground this, which means these will open at 5 grand and stay open until I dip below 5 grand. I've got the code for this up here. I'm a programmer, so I've commented everything and written it properly, but basically all it does is sets up the pins, and the main function is a loop that just checks if either the analog input, which is 5 volts out through this relay and then through this red wire back into a pin. So if that pin's got 5 volts because this relay is open, then it will engage the circuit, or if this is grounded, it'll engage the circuit, which means VTEC is triggered. Well, that's just what I've called it anyway. It'll then check if the valve's open, or if it's currently counting to see like if it can be closed, because if there's no input at all and it was open, it will count to 3 and then close. And this is the open logic. So all it does is turn one relay on for a movement time, and then I've also got here on the open, it's got an adjustment time, and for some reason they respond well in one direction but don't respond well in the other direction. So on one direction you have to leave it open for a very, very small amount more, just so that it returns in the right place. You can see here there's a little bit of white there where I've been using a chalk pen to just make sure they're turning at least 90 degrees. I've actually got them turning at like 100 degrees because, as I said, the 5 degrees of resistance will keep them closed and open, and because of the resistance as well, the motors also stop when they hit a certain amount of torque, so it will keep them closed without like popping a fuse or anything. But yeah, essentially that's just how it works. It's just 2 triggers, one of which I've got faked here with a button. So this is for VTEC, so when VTEC's triggered, it sends on B12 or something on the ECU pins. It's a 12 volt signal. Until you come out of VTEC, it's a constant signal. So what I've done is simulate this. So if I press this and hold it down, you see they're both open, and as long as I keep that on, so VTEC is on, they will stay open forever. And that's switching that relay in there, which is putting 5 volts into there, and then if I let go, give it a couple of seconds, then they go back to closed. I'll cut to some footage of me driving it in a minute, but yeah, I managed to retain the EP3 clocks. I used a custom bezel to fit into the AW11 clocks, which I got CNC cut out of acrylic. I do have one of these available if someone else wants to do this. I'll sell it to you at cost because I'm not expecting a huge amount of demand. But yeah, all I did is, annoyingly, the only thing on this clock that isn't controlled by the ECU is the water temperature gauge, because it's controlled by that. So that was my main reason for putting the multiplex in. And it took a while before it did work, but that means you have one wire going to the ECU in the back, and then that processes everything and makes everything on there work correctly. Bonuses with that is I got to install this lovely cable here, which allows me to connect to my laptop really easily. I've got an OBD port, which this MR2 never had. I got the remote central locking, which you've already seen. I have courtesy lights, so the light, which isn't on now, but if I open and close the door it would come on, and it also does that dim fade thing like a nice car. Also under there, I can pull back a bit of the carpet and you'll see there's a silver box and other cables that I really need to tie up. There's a silver box under there, and that connects directly to a motor which is going to be mounted in there. I haven't quite done it yet because I'm still fabricating everything, but basically it means this is going to have Honda Civic electric steering. The way the Honda does it, it does it on the steering rack, but I can remove the sensor and box and put it on the rail, on the column of this, because they're exactly the same size. I've just got to fabricate a couple of brackets, and it all plugs in and it all works correctly because I've already tested it all. The only thing I'm going to do is just fabricate it all up, which just means time.